Hey guys, it's Coop from Garage Gym Reviews, back with another banging review. And this time we are reviewing a little bit of a combination product. I have really gotten into this movement. You probably heard me talk about it. You're like, Coop, stop talking about it, but it is so good, the Nordic curl. And in fact, I think the Nordic curl has kind of been this, like, I don't know, it's probably the movement of 2022. You go on Instagram, you go on TikTok, wherever, YouTube, you're seeing tons of people talk about the Nordic curl. The reason the Nordic curl works so well is because it's just so great to strengthen the hamstring, the glutes, and also the knees. And I know a lot of people have knee issues. I think really what spawned this thing going towards so many people doing Nordics and so many companies like this company, the Tib Bar Guy, making products that work for Nordics and other movements is knees over toes guy. Like, he spawned this whole industry. And this company, the Tib Bar Guy, was kind of started out of that and has now started making products that work specifically for people that are training that way, just trying to strengthen their whole body, and people that follow the ATG program. So you have companies, and we've reviewed some of them, like Freak Athlete. You now have the Tib Bar Guy. You've got the Home Gym guys. A lot of people that are creating products specifically for those type of training. And this one is just that. It is a bench, as you can see, an adjustable bench that also includes leg rollers up front that can be used for Nordic curls. Now I'm gonna walk through all the different parts of the bench, what I think of the bench as an adjustable bench. I'm then gonna walk through the roller and kind of the idea of using it for a Nordic bench, and then I'm gonna tell you if you should buy it or not. Now, this is the thing. This company, the Tib Bar Guy, sent this for a review free of charge so we could do an honest take on this. The companies do not have a say in anything we say. There's gonna be an honest take from me. Also, if you'd like to support GGR, check out the links below the like button. If you purchase through there, the companies will pay us a small affiliate commission that doesn't increase the amount you pay, but does help us to keep making incredible reviews. Okay, let's talk about the bench. Okay, first off, this is an adjustable bench and is not designed to be the heaviest duty weight bench on the market. We've reviewed so many benches, man. Like, I'm getting old. I've reviewed probably hundreds of different benches. I've benched on hundreds of different benches. This is certainly not the heaviest duty bench that's out there. It's actually only around 37 pounds, which is quite light, which I think can be a benefit depending on who's using it. But just understand, like, if you're benching a crazy amount and you just want a dedicated bench, that's not really what this is designed for. But it can be used as a dedicated bench, and it can be used in that way, just like most adjustable benches. So this bench can be used in a flat version. As you can see here, if you want to use this as a flat bench, you can do it. Now, there are a couple things to call out on that. Number one, due to the way it adjusts, the pad gap is massive. It is a very large pad gap. Like, you can see it's just like, it's kind of gross. You don't want to look at it. But I do think the length of the pad is long enough that you can kind of avoid it if you shimmy up your head to this side. Now, another thing to mention about that is it extends farther off the feet. So just be careful if you're pressing a ton into this. If you don't have a ton of weight on the backside, it can lift up a little bit because the pad does extend so far off the feet. But this can also be used for decline, or it's designed to be used for decline. So it can go flat and decline. I will say, this decline angle, as you can probably see, is very extreme. My body does not fully work like that all the time. It's kind of uncomfortable. I wish there was another hole within this that kind of stood like right there or so, that allowed you to get more similar to what you see with decline benches around 15 degrees than something so dramatic that like this, which is probably around 30 degrees. Now, if you secure your feet in a certain way, you can use this for decline sit-ups and the like. I just think for decline pressing, it's not really all that great for that. Now there are 9 adjustable back positions that you can put this up or down, and that includes the far decline option. So that gives you a lot of options depending on, you know, if you want to just do a slight incline at say 15 degrees, or you want to go all the way up to a 90-degree shoulder press, this allows you to do that. The gap is really what allows you to do that because there's enough space that this thing can come all the way up. Now this seat pad has 5 different adjustment options. So 9 for the back, 5 for the seat. 5 is actually quite a bit, and they're very close together. You can see the holes. They are very tightly spaced, and this just allows you to refine and get exactly the angle that you would like. Now, as you can see, this bottom pad is massively wide. Like this is wider than what you'd see on a Thompson fat pad. This is just very wide. And the reason for that is because of, I think the most interesting part of this bench is this roller station right here. This is designed to be used, yes, as an Olympic bench, but it's also designed to be used, and I think primarily, and this is really the draw to it, also as a Nordic bench. Here's kind of your options for Nordic benches right now. You have the Rogue floor glute, which is very big and also quite expensive, made in the USA, overbuilt, typical Rogue stuff. Very good, but does one thing and doesn't store away. You also have from other companies, say the Sornex Poor Man glute. They call it a Poor Man glute, but it still costs more than double what this does. You also have something that's more affordable and comparable would be the Freak Athlete Mini Floor Glute. That one is actually really nice. It's more compact. It's much cheaper and a similar level quality as this, but it can't be used to bench. And there's actually something that this can do that that one can't do yet that I think makes this pretty appealing. But let me just show you how the Nordic part works, and then I can walk through what I think of it. So, similar to a normal Nordic bench, these are where your knees go, this is where your ankles go. Many Nordic benches that are out there will either have 1 or 2 rollers. Oftentimes they just have these 1 roller pad here. But one thing they often do have that I do wish this had, that I do think this is missing, but I'm kind of glad they didn't include it, is a footrest on the back. I kind of push my toes up against it when I'm doing Nordic curls. It's nice to have, but not a requirement. And this allows this unit to be used for other movements as well. But I'll show you how it works. If you want to get in here, just like you would a Nordic bench, I like to lower this to my feet. So I'm not going too high, and then you can use it like a Nordic bench. So you can go down and then back up. But one thing, and I think this is the most interesting thing about this, is this allows you to train Nordics progressively. So it allows you to progressive overload Nordics, which is something that's very hard to do. The way that I do it in my gym is I take DC blocks, or the way that I used to when I was building up to one, is I would take DC blocks and I'd stack them in front of me so I could go down to where I was strong and then come back up. This allows you to do that without any extra equipment and allows you to do it very comfortably simply using the back pad. So I can take this, let's say I'm just starting out on Nordics. You are strongest in your Nordic position from here to like 15 degrees or so, not a ton. So you can start simply by doing this. And that may seem like not a lot of movement, but if you've never done Nordics, you do 10 reps of that, you're gonna feel it. So just like this. Next workout, after you've done a bunch of those and built up in it, you can then progress to further down and go here. You wanna go further, you can go here. And on it goes until, I mean, I guess you could use it as a decline, but for most people, this is how you'd use it, all the way down and then back up. And it feels pretty solid for a Nordic bench. Not as solid as some of those bigger units, as you can see, like there's a little wobble here, but when you're in the movement and you're tight against the pads, both the rollers and the seat pad, like you feel pretty locked in and able to go. Now, there's another thing that this can be used for that they don't really talk about a lot, and I wish they would have put more time into thinking about it because there could be some tweaks to make it even better for this purpose. But a lot of home gym owners use functional trainers or different parts of their machine, say my Rhino belt squat, as lat pull downs. Or let's say the rep center mount lat pull down. Those things don't have dedicated benches. So oftentimes you're using your bench along with roller pads. This allows you to use the Nordic curl attachment just like you would for lat pull downs. So I put that where I'd like it, and now I have a lat pull down station that's holding my knees, depending on how tall you are, And so I can do lat pull downs with the bench as well. I think those two components are very interesting. And I think if you're trying to train progressively for Nordics, I love that feature with the back pad. I also love that you can use this as lat pull downs, but I gotta say, there are a lot of cons with this bench. Okay, I've kind of told you about some of the good things. The most significant thing is obviously the ability to do Nordics. But there are some things about this that I just don't like. Number one is this is the same style of bench as the Flybird bench we reviewed that's around $150. It's the most popular adjustable bench on Amazon. It's a decent bench for the price. I don't love it. There's a lot of things I don't like about it. This one can actually do a lot of the similar things like fold up, like that one can with this center mount. Has similar vinyl. The other one's a little bit more grippy. The padding on this feels pretty good, but again, it feels pretty similar to that. This does have a more textured powder coat than Flybird, but other than that, if you exclude some of these features here, like that's what this bench is that style of bench. And for the price point, it just feels a little bit cheaper than I'd like it to be. Now this company is not in the business of manufacturing benches yet. You know, it's not like they have a ton of experience with it. They make Tib bars. So they're trying to venture into the space and they're doing something innovative on basically a white labeled bench. Manufacturing and startup costs is very hard. So I think this is a good way to go. You just gotta understand the quality level of this is not where I think it could be for the features that are involved, because I love the features. For instance, the rollers on this, like the foam on here is just not that great. The vinyl that's on here is not that great. The adjustment points is quite rough, even though they're using plastic sleeves. It's just, there's a lot of movement and play in here with all this. There are some parts of the bench where they had to retrofit it so it would fit. So for example, if you want to put this seat pad all the way down, it rubs up against this part here, which is just like, it's just a bad design. It's just annoying. Now, you can remove this part if you'd like to, but the way that it's done is with these handle pieces here. And I just don't see a ton of people taking this on and off. Having had a home gym for a long time, you start to realize the most important part of the home gym is how efficient it is to use. Having to take a bunch of stuff on and off, it just doesn't end up happening. So you won't really use the ability to lower that seat pad very often because you're just not gonna take this part off. There are some also just minor things about the bench that I feel like are overlooked. For instance, when you're benching, you're gonna have your legs out front, or when you have your legs under here, you're gonna have your legs out front. There's a screw here on the side from this screw that's screwed all the way in that sticks out, that is ribbed, and therefore you can cut your leg on it. So it's just like little stuff like that that just kind of annoying. Like, I wish there was just a little bit more thought put into this design and a little bit higher quality. Now, one more call out on this, outside of the gap that we see here that I already mentioned that I don't absolutely love, is how wide this pad is. It's a square pad, but you really only need the width of the pad where your knees are placed, which means this pad is getting in the way when you're using it for a bench. Like when you're actually using it as a bench, the width of this pad where you place your legs, it's just kind of in the way because it's so wide, like it's very wide. So a better option for that would have been to cut this here so you have room for your legs and you also have room for your knees, and then there's no issues. I'm hoping that over time they can take this idea, the Nordic curl attachment, along with the lat pull down attachment for the legs, and make it a better design. But right now, it's just lacking. And I kind of hate to say that because I really like companies adding things to benches. It's a piece in the gym that I think is overlooked for attachments. I love the idea of adding a leg extension or a leg curl to bench. I love the idea of using it in this way so you can use it for Nordics. I always wanted Rogue to come out with one for their Thompson Fat Pad because I think it's wide enough that you could actually use it. But I like the addition of this. It's just when you look at this and just the instability of it, along with the instability and just kind of low quality of the bench with the price, it just doesn't really hit for me. The bench itself is $240, and then you add another 20, 25 bucks. Ends up being around 265 bucks shipped to your door for this bench. For that price, I just don't think the quality's there. Now, another reason I could see somebody buy this is if they like that Nordic option and the ability to improve on it over time, but also I love the ability for the lat pull down. This is very nice. I would use this if I had this bench on my Rogue Rhino lat pull down that I made, because that's where I do pull downs most of the time, and just having to adjust everything, it's just not that great. So if you want a bench that does all that, this one can do it. Just understand I think you gotta really like the lat pull down in the Nordic part, because the adjustable bench part of it is just okay for the price. So if you really want a lat pull down seat that you don't wanna have to deal with, there's not really a ton of other options that are out there. Now on that point, there is a bench out there that can kind of be used like this, and that's the Rep AB5000, the zero gap. It can be used with the leg roller. If you turn it upside down, you can use that to hold your ankles. The problem with it is it's a thinner bench. It's not as wide as this. So you gotta get your legs pretty close together. But if you're looking for a really stout bench that does that sort of thing, that bench does work. It's not as adjustable as this one. It's also not as wide as a pad, but it is a better bench. So another option to look at. But I will say, if you really want to progressively use Nordics and you have another bench that you would use, and this is kind of just secondary, I would actually still recommend this, because there's just not another way that I know of to progressively overload and improve on your Nordics like this one. That's the standout feature. So if you're just gonna use it for that and you recognize the problems inherent with the wide pad, the big gap, some of the instability, and some of just the lack of quality on this, then I think you can look over it and really use that feature. But for most people, I'm out. I think there's improvements to be made. So Tib Bar Guy, if you're watching this, I love the idea, but it just needs to be improved in quality. Please do, because I love the idea. Just give me more stability. Okay, there's my honest take. I'm letting you know this is what I think about it. This is my opinion. Other people may have opinions on it. If you've used this, I'd love to hear your opinion on it in the comments, especially if you've used it for a while, because you may agree or disagree with me, but I'd love to hear it. Let me know in the comments. This has been Coop from Garage Gym Reviews. We'll see you next time. Peace.